So welcome everyone. This is the launch of our latest publication, our field guide. It's called The Tech We Want. Read this before you build, as you can see in the presentation. I'm assuming everyone here knows what this publication is about, right? Because it's been available for a couple of days, a week, I think. And if you're here, you're probably interested in building, or you are building public interest tech, right? And you want to know how we've been doing with communities and what are our tips and tricks and things that we want to share about this. This publication actually puts many things together, many processes that we've been working on the Open Knowledge Foundation lately. And we are very happy that the conversation turned into this, let's say, concrete outcome, right? Because we have like many of these conversations in one-on-ones or during the pilot programs that you will know more about today, or in many other instances of our work. But it's very good to see, like in a few pages, like, our thoughts kind of organized, right? That's why we really want to do a really great shout out to Solana, who is the publication editor, Solana Larsen, and Constanza Figueroa, who is also here. She's the publication's designer and illustrator, because they really could build the narrative and the storytelling around open knowledge in general, actually. So a few things that this publication puts together. First of all, our The Tech We Want initiative. We've been talking about this for the past 2 years, I would say now. And I'm saying 2 years because the first initiative, the first event in this initiative was in 2023, The Tech We Want to Open Governments, and the last Open Government Partnership Global Summit in 2023. So from there, we started like, so this is something we want to talk about. And we started building this The Tech We Want initiative. And we had 2 summits and many other outcomes. You can go to our website and search for like the hashtag The Tech We Want. You'll find lots of things about it. This is basically a conversation, or let's say an advocacy statement that we are doing, that we need to create like counter technology that is simple, long-lasting, affordable. We cannot really stick to the basic and stack that big tech is putting on us. So that's basically our way of saying technology needs to be different. So the Tech We Want initiative started at the same time. We started developing the Open Data Editor, which is our, I would say, flagship application today. The team is here, and many people are involved as well. And this application is, I won't tell the story because that's about it. But this application basically detects errors in tables, but it also helps you learn about data quality and improve your local impact, because it's really focused on non-technical people and non-technical communities, right? So I'll leave other people to explain better what it means. And the third thing is that we've been reactivating many of our communities in the past 1 or 2 years. So it's like School of Data, Open Data Day, the Open Knowledge Network. We are doing, we're kind of shaking many of those things, putting these people together again in the same room. Many structured and unstructured, but like we're really trying to get people together again. And this call, I think, is also an example of this. Like we're seeing many faces of people that are kind of starting to get intimate and starting to work together often, and this feels like a community again, right? So I would say these 3 vectors are the things that we are putting together in this publication. We try to also show the things we learned in the way. This is another, let's say, humble way of developing technology, right? Like we are not the ones who know what needs to be done. We are not the ones who will tell the world, like, how open data should be managed. But we are learning with people, and also unlearning ways of doing things. I think that's the main narrative that this report puts together, thanks to the sensitive eye of Solana as well. I don't know if she's in the room. No, not yet, right? This is just an introduction. I would, as the Open Knowledge Foundation Communications and Advocacy Director, I'm really happy to have, this as one thing that I can show. We can show the world and say, so this is our story, right? And this is when I would send it over to Solana to introduce the publication. But as she's not here, I think we can try to improvise, Pato and Romina, if you can help me. And the idea would be doing like a read through the publication. Let me just find the link. I was not really prepared for this.
Yeah, share if you can share quickly the link in the chat, and I can like do the introduction to the publication.
Oh,
and I can jump in.
Yeah, no worries.
So this is the publication link, like the blog introducing the publication, but I'll also put the link to the PDF directly, which is the thing we want to. Yeah. Just 1 second. Yeah. I can share my screen as well with the PDF if it's okay, and then
you can give me
okay. Okay, give you. Okay.
No worries. Yeah, no worries.
Where are you here? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And also, this is gonna help us answering the questions that Mohamed had in the chat about like this is like an inspirational title and why did we choose it. So okay, 10 minutes. The idea of writing this publication is to write down a memory of our journey with the application and how we envision like the future of building public interest technology. To give a little bit of context for those that do not know where the Tech We Want initiative comes from, it's an initiative that born out of like the frustration with the current state of technology and how it became extremely complicated, and also serving only purposes of like big teams and big tech. But sometimes when you are like a small organization or a small team and you want to build using like modern and shiny tools, you find out like it's not suitable for you because it's expensive, because the talent is difficult to get, because it forces you to adopt like strategies and infrastructures that maybe are not suitable for you. You just want like a simple application deployed in a small server because your use base are like 100, 200 users, but suddenly people comes with like microservices, and you found that with 3 repositories, like Kubernetes, and you say like, I want something simple. I mean, our context is simple, so we need tools and we need ways to build that are more simple. When we started working with the Open Data Editor, we had like more like a I'm not going to say Silicon Valley approach, but more like an approach of, okay, what's the modern technologies? What is the modern tools that communities of technology are using? Let's build something that reflects like the way Visual Studio Code is built. And we try to mimic the architecture. We try to mimic the UI, the tools that Visual Studio Code was using. And after 2 years, we found out that it was not sustainable for us. After like 2 years, we need to think and rethink how we build the project. So we did like a measure drift on how we build the Open Data Editor. We started questioning our ways of building technology. And we had like a lot of learnings into that process. And that is how like we came out to like this conclusion. Okay, we need to write down in something all our learnings, so people around the world that wants to start building public interest technology can learn from our experience and do not make the same mistakes that we did. And this is how this document is built, has born as a field guide from the Open Knowledge Foundation on how to build public interest tech with communities. It has a couple of sections on the document. Of course, I'm not going to read it, but basically on learning and unlearning, it's a little bit of a summary of what I just told you, how we need to like start thinking that if we want to build sustainable technology, how can we address it? Then we add like, we want it to be this guide, like interactive and straight to the point. We don't want it to be like theoretical, but more like a field guide. So we had, okay, let's create 8 questions that will help people to analyze their situation and understand their situation better. So we started with 8 questions that you need to ask before even you build that technology, which I think is key to scope the project and understand what are you going to build even before you start building. Because the first problem that we have with the Open Data Editor is that we spend too much time developing for ourselves and developing for our niche community. So we build without like even asking questions about what we were building. And finally, when we made like the first release of the Open Data Editor, we faced like the harsh truth that no one outside our niche community understood what we were building. So we basically created this section of 2 questions to ask before you build. First, who are you building this for? Second, what problems are you trying to solve? What should we not build? And this is one of, like, for me, like the most interesting questions. Sometimes people focus a lot on things that they want to build, but they don't do these questions on the opposite side. Okay, what should we build? Because if we don't put strict limits of what our application should not do, we end up with bloated applications that try to do everything and do nothing good. So we should not only focus on what we want, but also understand our limitations and define clearly, okay, this is something that we're never going to build, and we are not going to step out of these boundaries that we set to ourselves. Does this work for our audience? This is another key learning. Who are you building this for? As I said at the beginning, the Open Data Editor, we started building it for like a niche community that kind of like understand our language, understand our problems. They have a specific way of solving those problems. And after 2 years, when we open it for like the whole people, our main audience didn't understood the application. And we always say the same, but we had a lot of feedback on the Open Data Editor on the first interaction with the application, people saying, I don't know what metadata is. I open that panel and I feel scared about it. I feel that if I touch something there or change something there, the application is going to break, so I close it. So then it was like, but that metadata panel is the whole purpose of the application, and people is scared to use it. So basically, we were like building something, and we never talked with the real audience that we wanted. And also, when we started, as Lucas mentioned before, that we started working a lot with communities, we understand that there is like a huge gap in between what you think the people and your users know and what they actually know in the field. Is our language clear? Simple. People didn't understand the terms of the application. What is metadata? What is validation? What is checksum? I mean, we had like a huge gap there. So is our language clear? Is another question that we thrive people to ask themselves when they're building. Do we need AI in this? We are like in the hype era of AI, and people want to put AI on everything, but some things they do not need. Some things we can just handle it with just simple plain code. How long lasting will this be? And this is like a super interesting question. How, even more if you are building public interest technology, we never think ahead, okay, how long should this last? Are you thinking an application that you're going to throw away in 2 years? Are you thinking on building something that should last? Do you think that this is going to be something about like years, decades? So how long should this be around? And also, how long this should be around once you are not there is a good question. And of course, who will maintain this once you are not there? So these are like triggering questions for the persons that want to build public interest. I think these are questions that sometimes like the software industry do not make themselves, mostly because you create probably like a business scenario or a business model around your application. You have sustainability taken for granted because if your application is a success, you're going to have money. But sometimes when building public interest technology, that's not the case. Then we follow up with some tips on building with communities. One thing is building an application like, I don't know, let's say Tinder, Instagram, X, that you know what your use case is, or you have full control. And another thing is like involving the communities is completely different. So we have like some sections and some tools and some tips to talk with communities, how to involve the communities. After, I'm going to let Romina talk a little bit about this. Okay, tips for getting started, a small section, okay, of what we have been learning, like, for example, big tech for humans, not abstract audiences. I mean, sometimes we think, oh yeah, the user will want this. Is that true? Have you corroborated with the user that doesn't want to be? So it's like extremely important that we put a lot of emphasis that when building for communities and building for sustainability, you do not need to have abstract audiences. You need to know the people. You need to sit with them in a room, show the application, do some clicks, and from there gather the requirements. We have some like use cases and some people, some experiences with the work with the Open Data Editor. We have a whole sections about what to do with AI. Mostly if we want to integrate AI in a sustainable and ethical way, okay, what are like the questions that we should do? What are like the tips on when to integrate with AI? What are the pitfalls, things that we failed with, so you don't fail as well. Lastly, a small conclusion about our experience. And I think that the most interesting part of this publication is that, okay, you have reached so far, you read all the document and say, yeah, okay, I'm ready to build. I am prepared to start and building public interest technology. So we create like a self-assessment guide that will help you and your team and your organization to understand this and to put all this knowledge in a practical way. So we put like some kind of gamification into the guide that you can probably print and do by yourself. So basically, yeah, we said print this page, read each statement, that's applied to you. So you can do like a self-assessment. We have several questions on self-assessment. And also we have some cards with the triggering questions. So when we were talking before about like these 8 questions that we would like every project to do before start building, well, we have add some cards at the end that you can print and you can play with the people trying to build technology and engage in this conversation with your own team about what do you stand with some key topics. And we take it out of the abstract of who are we building this with some concrete discussions. For example, when you talk, okay, who are we building this for? Well, yeah, the error that we had in the Open Data Editor, oh, we are building this for non-technical audience. That was our mantra. But it was like for us, we thought it was clear. It was not that clear. So, okay, now let's go a little bit deeper. Okay, who was the last person you spoke out of your core audience? What will you ask them the next time you speak? So try to like make this exercise really, really concrete. In terms of like, how lasting will this be? I think there is like a really beautiful question. How do you envision the 20th birthday of your software? Whom will you celebrate and how? This is something super interesting because, for example, SICAN is another project that we work at the Open Knowledge Foundation is gonna turn 20 years next week. So have you ever thought that your project is gonna turn 20 years old? In that scenario, who you think is gonna be there celebrating? So it doesn't go in terms of like next month, in terms of like next years. It goes in terms of like, okay, in 20 years, is your technology going to be still around? Are your dependencies, are your technical frameworks going to be around in 20 years that you can say, okay, I have left something in the world that people are going to be able to reuse? So we have like these cards, you can print them, you can like cut it and share it into like the table, and then with your team, you can like have like really, really interesting discussions on how do you envision your application. And lastly, we finish like the report with some further resources and some interesting links on how to keep engaging in the conversation of how to build better technology and better public interest technology. So that's like the publication. We are super excited about it. I think it's going to engage a lot in interesting conversations. I think that people that come from the private sector will find this as well interesting, because there are a lot of overlaps and things that we do similar in the private sector, but there are also some key difference that we should not take from the private sector on how we build technology. So Lucas already shared the links, so feel free to go read about it, download it, share it, and please engage in the conversation. And I think that's the 10 minutes that we had for the presentation. Sorry for the improvisation, but back to you, Lucas.
Yeah. So how can we say something about building with communities without having to deal with improvisation? Right? That's the heart of this project. Amazing. Actually, I won't take more of your time in introductions. Let's go to the practicalities. Every knowledge, let's say, that we are putting together in this publication and sharing with the world now came from real people doing real work, right? And this is when it's a key moment as well. It's a milestone in our year when we are finishing the second cohort of pilot organizations that are working integrating the Open Data Editor into their data workflow. And to tell you more about this, I want to bring to the stage Romina Koma, who is the product owner for Open Data Editor. She will explain you more about the pilot program, and then also, let's say, a little interview or some interventions from the pilot organization's representatives. I'll make you presenter, Romy, now, as I know you have a presentation.
Thank you, Lucas.
And just go ahead.
Thank you, and hi, everyone. A couple of comments on what Pato mentioned. I think the field guide is a kind of, we are opening the door to our meetings, because we had a lot of reflections where we're building the Open Data Editor, and we were like, hey, we made mistakes. These are the challenges, but also these are the good things that we did during the project and all the conversations that we had, and we wanted to share that with our community. The second thing is that we challenge ourselves to go slow while everyone goes fast. And that is super important, because right now everyone wants to build new tech, and we started asking us questions. Should we do this? Should we incorporate this feature? How we should prioritize things? So we try to create some balance in terms of our priorities also. And we became better listeners and observers. And that was one key thing for the whole team, because while we wanted to jump into solutions and say, hey, this is what we will do, we basically sit and listen to what people wanted us to add in the application. And then we started looking for patterns. And one last thing is that we discovered that something that we already knew, which is that tech issues are never about tech itself. There are other stuff, other things that we need to pay attention to, again, communities, talking to people and having these conversations. And I think that was one of the main things, one of our main learnings from this project. I will share my screen now to talk a little bit about the pilot programs. Can you see my slides? Yes? Yes? Perfect, thank you. Sorry, I'm not seeing anyone. Okay, so again, Lucas already introduced the app, but the Open Data Editor is a tool to allow people with non-technical skills to ingest tables in the app and detect errors in their tables in an easier way. Why we decided to run pilots? Because building tools with communities is much better than building them alone. So again, basically, we discovered that in the first versions of the ODE, we had conversations internally, but there was no connection with the community. And that's why, again, in the first releases, what we saw is that people did not engage a lot with the app. So Open Knowledge started asking questions themselves, like, what is going on? What did we did wrong? And basically, we started interviewing people to try to understand what were their data problems. We ran 3 cohorts. 12 organizations participated in these cohorts. We looked for people with diverse backgrounds, living in diverse regions also around the world, because we wanted diversity. I mean, it was not only about the diversity in the team that was building the ODE, it was also about having voices from around the world into the input or the feedback for the project. And that was super important for us. These are some of the pilot organizations. We work with the city of Zagreb. They work with the Open Data Portal and try to use the Open Data Editor, incorporate it into their workflows to teach public officials how to work with the Open Data Editor. Then we work with the Demography Project. Observateur, I will say it terribly in French, but basically it's the, can you say it, Lucas? Because I know your French is good. Observatoire?
It's not, but I think it says, observatoire, the Zammermont, no?
Perfect. Better than mine. So they were looking at different databases in terms of military spending, and they work closely with communities, and they used the Open Data Editor to check if there were errors in the tables that they were building collaboratively with other people. And we also work with Open Knowledge Nepal, one of the chapters of Open Knowledge. These are, again, some of the organizations. In this case, Demography Project, what they did was take data from the air, basically, into sensors and download that data and ingest it into the ODE to see if there were errors in that data. And this last cohort has been a different cohort. I have some of those people here, like Gibran, Mohammed, and also Tatenda and Mohit. They will explain more. But basically, they work in different topics. We have journalists, we have library people working in universities, we have people working in science and in different places. So we wanted to understand what happened when they started uploading their data, the data that they built, into the Open Data Editor. What did we learn as part of the pilot program? Basically, that after spending some time in the project, you can start making assumptions about how things should work. And this is something we also incorporated in the field guide that we built. Organizations that participated in the pilot kept our work grounded. And that was super important because as soon as we wanted to do more without their input, the information that we started getting from them reorganized our priorities. And that was super helpful. We did not wait until we had the perfect app. We show it to the world. We knew that it was not perfect. We knew that it has many flaws, but we were like, hey, release very quickly and then get feedback and improve. We paid special attention also to patterns. What were the key elements that everyone was repeating they wanted to see in the ODE across the cohorts? And while we started like looking at those patterns help us prioritize our work. And we also have to manage trade-offs, of course. There was a lot of valuable input from users, but we had to make difficult decisions. I mean, basically, what are we going to do first and what should wait? What did we learn from the AI implementation? It was difficult for our team to work with AI. We had like a lot of questions like, how should we do this? Because we want to do this responsible in an ethical way. A lot of questions that we started like to try to look for those answers. In terms of local LLMs, there are expectations. At the beginning were a lot of expectations, but then we faced the reality. People wanted local LLMs to correct errors in their data, in the ODE. That is not possible. So we have to think about, okay, what can we do and what can we give real humans that will help the data work, but will be different from what they want. We also realized based on this that we were learning by doing. We called some experts that supported our work with the pilot organizations because we assumed that we didn't know everything. We have been working with open data and with open data communities and trainings for a long time, but we have a lot of questions and answer questions. So we start calling experts. So, something that we already knew, which is something that I mentioned, the technical aspect is not everything in terms of AI implementation. There were gaps. There were a lot of questions. People started asking us, what is a model? What does a model contain? What do you mean by local LLMs? So again, that kind of obvious questions like trigger internal reflections and made our work better. But I want everyone to meet some of the pilot organizations and people that work as part of the pilot of the ODE. So who wants to go first? I have Gibran here, Mohammed, Mohit. Can you tell a little bit about your experience and what you learned?
Hi, everyone. So, okay, I'm sorry, Gibran. I'm just okay. So I'm Mohit Garg, currently working in the library at IIT Delhi, and in the libraries we handle multiple kinds of data, like we use Koha as our library management system. So there are like lot many logs and lot many circulation reports and all those operation report we have. Then we have different kind of data set, like based on our usage statistics, like counter 5 is one of the standards based on which we got the data from different resources, like how people have used our resources. And apart from this, we also take up the data mainly onto related to scholarly publication, like we want to have the analysis of how our academic growth is going on, which are the topmost publications are there, which have received citation and all. And in the process of doing this analysis, we have some of the as we all know that data doesn't comes as we want. And I gave this kind of a metaphor in the last meeting to Lucas, that we all talks about the image quality, maybe 1080 pixels, but we don't have that quality of data. So that's how we got the different kind of data set. And there are like lot many our data set is like around 10,000 rows or something, like big rows are there. So it's important for us to identify the kind of errors and how we can do that. So we have tested with this ODE tool with the different versions about things, like it detects the errors. And frankly speaking, from my side, we are quite satisfied with the ODE tool, not with the AI thing, because the AI thing, what we want is like the way we use any of the tools, like whether we use ChatGPT or maybe any specific data analytic tools like Julius AI. Okay, so we just we just give the prompt, and like if there is a kind of blank cells are there, you replace all those blank cell with a kind of NA. Or if something like type mismatch is there, so you just match the type of whatever the previous cells values are there. So in terms of AI, that was not, we couldn't succeed in that. But other than this, we have, kind of good response in using ODE, apart from, as you know, like we are from the library and information science community, it's a parts of art. So many of us doesn't come from computer science background or those who can code. So that's how it's an tool which has been useful for us. And it's a very good approach that as Romina has also mentioned, that we started slow. And I think sometimes we need to be slow because everyone is going fast. And there are and the idea of us, like if we do use ChatGPT, like if we see the Ghibli art, like last week we were talking about the use of AI. Everyone shared the whole of their image and whole of their data to and all those tools. So that's how we want to give the confidence to the users who have the data, that your data is secure, because in these days so many scams, so many kind of things are going on. So our approach of thinking of using the local LLM and to do that, it's a very good approach. And to succeed in that thing, something we have started in down. And I believe in maybe in future versions and all, we will be succeeded in having a full kind of the operations on the data set. So that's my experience about OD.
Thank you, Mohit, Gibran. And one more thing about Mohit. I think, I forgot to mention this, that it's also about that Mohit opened the Open Data Editor outside, he's a small community, and he showed the tool to other students and people inside the university. And he collected feedback also that was useful for us to improve the Open Data Editor. And that was really amazing. for us. And regarding the AI, yes, that's true. I mean, it's correct. And we were discussing this with Patricio yesterday, the fact that we implemented local LLMs, but people expect the AI application to work like ChatGPT, and that was the same experience from the people that build the tool. We were like, this is super slow. I mean, and then we started thinking about trade-off. I mean, this is private, but at the same time you have to wait. So just as an exclusive preview, the new OD version will incorporate a second use case, which basically people can select the second use case to suggest questions for data analysis. So the ODE, based on the column names and the first 5 rows of your table, will suggest questions for people so they can work on some data analysis. Yes, Mohit, go.
I want to quickly add one more thing. You know, what I have experienced like around the last a decade about working with open source solution. You know, people looks like, you know, the things comes with free. Okay, like any tools comes free, but in reality, if I say, you know, no tools are kind of, you know, though they are open source, it looks like free, but and many of us are just lurking the things. Okay, we are not as a contributor. So you know, when I was taking up this session about OD with people, you know, and they were like, you know, we want, you know, a tool which can do the data analytics also. We want a tool which can give the response and also. And then I like started a kind of a statement that, you know, like, okay, we will be doing that. Okay, somebody will do this thing on this software, but how many of you will take step forward in contributing in the different aspect? And that's and as soon as I mentioned this statement, everyone keeps on mum. There was a complete silence there. So you know, that's a kind of a perception we need to bring it down in our community also, that you know, yes, somebody are already working, so somebody are already investing so much time. So open source software, it look like a free solution, but it has a contribution of many people, and it doesn't reality in this of whatever the tool we are taking up, it's not free.
Thank you, Mohit. Hibram, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you, Romina. I'm Hibram Mena. I'm the co-founder of a small organization of investigative journalism, and we are also trainers for other journalists, originally from Mexico and now in both Latin America and Germany. And what I found most useful around the ODE editor, it's the whole pedagogic, I will call it, or didactic educational system that is built from. So the course that is, let's say that the first step to learn to use the ODE systematically and very structurally proposes the steps that any journalist would go over to make sure that actually the data sets are that there's an analysis to be made out of a data set after cleaning the data set. So the results of the analysis in investigative journalism are valid, complete, accurate. And I found it very useful during our trainings because it very clearly shows what kind of errors you can detect and look for in a data set, such as it's not complete, it's not precise enough, it's not the difference between validity and accuracy and completeness, for instance. So for mentorships and trainings, I found it most useful. We also used it for specific investigations on data that comes from satellite imagery to make sure we were undergoing an investigation that we already published on oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico, and also an update of an arsenic and fluoride investigation in Mexico. So it was also useful to detect immediately some completeness issues in the datasets. But again, for us, the most use was during the trainings. And regarding the AI component, I think there's also a potential there for it to become, for the AI component to become an assistant that would help to teach journalists that have a basic understanding of data cleansing to get to a higher, more complete level of understanding of what a clean data set could look like. And this is also that was brought up by a partner of Open Knowledge in some of the talks he gave, Marek from Tactical Tech, that for me, it resounded a lot, because I think for me, it's also an ethical question about what AI is doing to our work as journalists. So I think instead of doing stuff for journalists, like solving the issue for the journalist, it could become an assistant that not replaces the work of the journalist, but actually enhances and helps the journalist to understand what is needed to do in a database in terms of data cleansing. So I would love to see, if possible, maybe as a continuation of the project where the AI component could become this teacher or assistant in understanding the very steps that need to be gone through in data cleansing.
Thank you, Gibran, and thank you for all the insightful comments. And also, Gibran is right. I mean, one of the most important things that, again, we discovered while building the ODE is that the app itself, I mean, could work, but we needed a little bit of context and to bridge that gap between basic data stuff and the app before people jumping into the application. And the course has been really useful for that. Tadenda, do you want to go next? And then Mohammed.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you, Romina. Thank you so much, Romina. Thank you so much for having us today, and thanks to everyone who has spoken before me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so our experience with ODE, I would start to say our work. So the first thing was
Tadenda, can you please turn off the video because you're cutting, you're breaking.
okay. Am I audible now? Oh, sorry for my connection.
Yes.
Okay, so okay, so I think the first thing that we highlighted when we were using the ODE platform is the fact that our project is trying to democratize technology, but also to include the communities in building AI platforms. So that is our main aim, but we are more focusing on the global South communities, but within also the context of cultural heritage. So one of the interesting things that we discovered as we were using the ODE, but also as part of our data collection strategy, is the fact that we've been using different data collection methods. And one of it was we've been using Epic Collect 5, is a tool for data collection, but it gives us forms. So when we were doing that, the good thing about that is it was allowing us to just transfer the data direct to the ODE as CSV files. However, we were also collecting data which is unstructured. So by unstructured, I'm referring to interviews, I'm referring to pictures and videos. So that data has to be structured, which means it had to be put in tables. So this is the thing when we were dealing with that type of data, is the fact that the data that we produced through unstructured ways was different from the data that we produced through structured ways. And ODE allowed us to standardize that data, and it allowed us to more or less to have the launchpad for our master index. So the second thing, which is quite interesting, is that transferring the data from the Epic Collect 5, it was when we tried to present that data on Excel, it was very jumbled. it was not clear. So when we used ODE, the data was clearly presentable without any, any distortions and whatnot. So it was one of the most important things that ODE did for us, and that is also allowing us again to give us a foundation for the data sets that we are going to be building. I would go to the AI platform. Of course, it wasn't working mostly for us, but I would just want to say kudos to the ODE for implementing that idea, because I think maybe it's because I'm speaking because it resonates to our work, where we are trying to democratize technology, but also data collection. So the idea of a local LAM is an amazing one, because then it's more like what you're trying to do, guys. I would say it's an amazing part, because then we are dealing with ethics in AI, we're dealing with issues to do with governance. So I think this platform, it gives a self-governance for the community, for whoever who is using ODE. So I would just say maybe this is just the beginning, but I'm just seeing a future where this AI component within this context of local LLM is going to give us like the best results, but also to be a tool which can be used as an example of ethical AI, models, but also in terms of data governance. So this is how I've been seeing it when we're trying to use it, but also just trying to observe it. That's what I think. So I would say with ODE, yes, it's something that we are going to continuously use to refine our data, and we can't wait to see the AI platform working like fully functional. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatena, and thank you for all your comments. Mohammed, do you want to close the pilot's presentation? The floor is yours.
Yes, can you hear me? All right,
Yes.
great. Yeah. All right. So it's been nice looking at the OTE tool as open science. I think I discussed a lot with Lucas the last time on the use cases we have used it for. So majority of our target audience are usually researchers and student researchers, like students in their final year, students who are trying to analyze their data, collect information, and make meaningful information out of that, and also for agri extension officers. So for us, for the ODE part, everything was very clear after taking the course. Again, also, we're able to use it for easy error identification and also identifying empty cells, because that is usually one of the biggest issue for most researchers, trying to reconcile dates, trying to fix basic errors, and also maintain metadata about documents and data they collect. With regards to the AI part, like everyone has mentioned, for about 2 to 3 weeks, it was not working for us. I think I kept thinking Romina on that, how it kept bouncing, like it kept crashing on my machine and all of that. Yeah, but finally, we tested it on another machine and it worked. Of course, it didn't solve most of the problem, but yeah, we can successfully say that it's working on a Windows machine. The twin challenge of it being slow is still something that I feel can be worked on in future. The fact that the AI part has been implemented on the ODE shows that it is futuristic. It is something that would be improved if we are able to look further beyond just what we have built today, and so much so that it will be more useful for the communities that are going to be using it. So yes, it's something we are going to keep using, and then we are going to keep introducing that to our researchers, because it's quite easy to use, unlike OpenRefine and other tools that are quite complex, So yeah, we will continue using that. Thank you so much for getting us involved in this and letting us explore it better. We are very grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mohamed, and thank you everyone who participated in the cohorts of the ODE. Lucas, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm always glad when I listen to you guys talking about your work. I just wanted to highlight before we move to a closing of this session, like the diverse programs, right? We are talking about people working in organizations, the Global South mainly, in very different areas, from open science to data journalism to cultural heritage. I mean, if you see the other panels as well, we try to select those people, the ones that we want to work with, but that needs also the open data editor and some support in that area. So it's really great. It's really great to have you guys here. We have 4 minutes to go, and luckily we have Solana Larsen in the house, as you can see. I want to give her the opportunity to say a few words. We have introduced the presentation, the publication already, Solana, but I really want to put you on the spot as the publication editor and responsible for actually building the story of the Tech We Want and open data editor here. So over to you. Thanks for coming.
Hi. I'm so happy to be on the spot and to have a chance to meet you all, new and old faces. I've learned so much from being involved in this project and learning from the work that you've been doing with the ODE. And I think it's exciting to think about what the Open Knowledge Foundation is doing to take the learnings that you've had in building the ODE and sharing them in a way that can apply to others who are building tech and working with data in similar ways to how you have. This is just the first of a series of publications. There's going to be more work on this. The next publication that we're working on is related to governance, like how do you make decisions about software or tech projects like ODE after the initial development phase? How do you deal with decisions around technology that also is accompanied by resources, like the ODE is, the learning resources? How can you make it so that communities can continue to work on these projects and govern and decide over what happens to these projects after maybe even the organization has run out of time or run out of money? I think these are things that we all need to think about, not just in relation to the ODE, but all these other ideas that there are in our communities for building the tech that we want. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for sharing your experiences with us, with everybody, with the world. Thanks for being an inspiration to all of us. And I'm happy to be on board with you all and look forward to learning more. Thanks.
Thank you, Solana. Thank you, everyone. I think we are coming to the end of this call, this meeting. Actually, for many improvised moments, we are actually finishing on time, so it's great. And that's it. Just a big thank you note to everyone. This is the way we do tech from now on. We are reading our own guide when we will be building, our next products as well and managing our communities and so on. So that's it. We're really glad to learn and unlearn with all of you. And with that, maybe we can say goodbye in the languages of our choice. Bye-bye. Ciao. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado.